You don't get to stop funding to the border wall. Sorry, in America, that happened this week. So as we like to say in the Calexit movement, what's your backup plan? When the Supreme Court says something's legal, that's it. What's your backup plan? There is nothing. And then did everybody see how the Ninth Circuit, your California Supreme Court Circuit Court, said we back Trump on sanctuary cities? Everybody see that? That was 2 weeks ago. So you just lost on sanctuary cities, and then you lost on the border wall twice within weeks. What's your backup plan? Because when the federal courts say something, you have to do it by law. You don't get to choose. The only reason we get to do marijuana like we want is because the feds choose to not enforce the ban. It's not because they have to do it, it's because they choose not to. Don't get it confused. We are allowed to do what we want because they choose to not send federal agents and start arresting everybody. But legally they can. So I know this seems a little radical to people, but what is your backup plan when the federal courts say you don't get to have sanctuary cities? The wall goes up. We are going to ban Muslims coming from foreign countries. And yes, the Supreme Court sided with Trump on that too. How many of you knew that? That's what I'm talking about. Californians are not aware that the law is continuously backing up Donald Trump. Look at the border wall, look at sanctuary cities, look at undocumented immigrants. How many of you heard about the fact that you no longer get to file a class action lawsuit if you are a minority against your corporation for discrimination? Yes, that's law. Right. That's federal law. They took it away from you. There's nothing you get to do about it. It's gone.
If you think this entire administration and the country has nothing to do with white supremacy, you're absolutely dead wrong.
Yeah.
It is an agenda. And it's deep-rooted, not only just in politics, it's in industry, aerospace, every commercial business there is. It's rooted in it. Look at who's picking our fields, who works the crops, who does all the real work. Those are the ones they're punishing. And the guys like this, who live in neighborhoods like this, get away with it. Are we just gonna sit here? I mean, is that the country you guys wanna live in? That wall is going up there. That's not representative of this state. That's not representative of California. We as Californians have always fought against the grain of the U.S. We've always set those standards for the U.S. This is the standard we need to set again. Have each state have more autonomy than the federal government. Because if you think Donald Trump is leaving after he loses next year, he's not going anywhere. He gets indicted. If you were getting indicted after your term in office, would you want to leave the office? Hell no.
That's not his choice.
And once he loses, what do you think is going to happen to all his supporters? Do you think they're just going to say, okay, yeah, he lost, he should back down? And he's not. They are going to guard him. The red hats are going to come out even more to make sure he stays in office.
But that's not how it's
I hope it doesn't turn into a war, but God.
Hold on, let me, how many of you heard send him back, right? Donald Trump send him back. We hate that in California. Now the news is talking about, oh, Republicans love that. Let's get it straight, that's true. But Rasmussen polling said 50% of American voters now support Donald Trump after he made that statement. That means that more than half of America outside of California, a majority of America outside of California, likes Donald Trump right after he said send him back. Rasmussen was the best polling indicator for the 2016 election. That means they had the closest mark on who won and lost the 2016 election. And they are saying 50% of America now supports Donald Trump after he said send him back. Because that includes us Californians, that means a majority, over 50% of America outside of California supports Donald Trump because he said send him back. That is the country you are tied to.
And that leads to this.
What's your plan?
It leads right to this and nobody cares.
What do you think those people aren't going to elect someone worse? And then someone worse after that? You guys remember George W. Bush? He too wasn't properly elected. He too did things Californians marched in the streets for. Remember that thing called the Iraq War? We didn't like that, and he didn't win. So this is the second time an unelected president does things Californians hate.
And that's the president who set up ICE. That's the president who set up the Patriot Act. That goes against violation of the Constitution.
Do you want a third
This is
president?
against the Constitution.
Maybe a fourth. How many times do you have to do this where someone isn't democratically elected and says things that are against California values and does things that we can't stand? Maybe 2 more times? Maybe 3, maybe 4? I mean, what is the magic number? Because you're at 2 times in 10 years now.
Thomas Giles, we know you're there. Quit your job. Show us you care. Thomas Giles, we know you're there.
Oh, we started chanting.
Quit your job. Show us you care.